Okay, today I'm going to show you how to check your engine oil and stuff and fluids. First of all, we need to get the owner's manual out, so I've opened up the glove box. I've got my book out. Just grab that out and we'll open it up. And we want to go to introduction and we want to go to instrumentation, or instruments I call them. And we want to find out where our bonnet latch lever is. This is a right-hand drive vehicle and it shows it's underneath bonnet release lever. Shows us it's right hand side under here, which is right here. So we'll pull this and I'll take you around to the bonnet. Alright, I'm at the front of the vehicle. This is your lever. When you've popped that lever in there, you've got to pop this and you lift up the bonnet. That holds that latch there and your rod sits across here. I've got the rod in the actual bonnet holder. You've got a hole cut out in your bonnet for that, especially for that. And we're going to find out where your dipstick is, which here is your dipstick, which is a yellow stick. Most of the cars now, but old ones have just got a plain metal circle where you pull it out. So I'll just pull the dipstick out now. And make sure you hold the dipstick up too, straight up when you pull it out. So that way when you check your oil, I'll just wipe it. I'll give you a close up look how to read your dipstick properly. You need a piece of paper towel or rag to do this, so you can keep the mess limited. And on your dipstick, you've got a graph here, which is as empty, and that graph there is full, so when you pull it out your oil should be up to the full level. So I'll just pop that back in the oil. You've got a tube in here where it slides back in. Just drop that back in here and make sure it seals up properly too, otherwise if you don't push it in there properly you get a lot of dirt and stuff and that will be bad for your engine. Now in a vehicle that doesn't burn no oil, which, like, you know, if you're a late model vehicle, that's good. If it doesn't burn any oil, you won't have to check your oil. You don't have to do it once a week. But if your vehicle burns oil all the time, you want to check your vehicle every time you drive it. Because if you don't check your oil, you'll end up running out of oil because it'll be burning and blowing heaps of smoke out the exhaust, and you'll blow your engine up and then you'll be looking for a new motor. So just keep that in mind. This bottle here is your power steering fluid. So this is the min mark on it, and that's the max mark. Now you can only put power steering fluid in this. You can't put oil or brake fluid in it. It's got to be specifically power steering fluid only. And you should always keep an eye on this too to make sure your rack and pinion at the back or your pump's not leaking, because this run out of oil and you know, they'll have to be fixed. Hopefully you'll never have to do it, but you know, some of these vehicles they wear out after a fair while. This is your washer bottle and your battery, and this is your radiator. That's your radiator here. This is your radiator overflow bottle. So how to check this water is you don't undo the cap and take the cap off. You always check it from the bottle, the radiator overflow bottle only. So if you look down here, you can see that's the full mark and that's empty. So this bottle's full. If I can try and rock it a little bit, I'll be in. You can see it's on the full mark and that's low. So this is good. You don't have to add nothing to it or anything. That's fine. And I'll cover the coolant and stuff shortly after I go through the rest of the stuff. This is your throttle body right here. That's your throttle body and your throttle position sensor right there on your throttle body. This is your air filter. I've only just put a new air filter in it, but to take that off, it's a lot. It varies on different vehicles, but this holds on by 2 clips. What you can see here, and you just undo that. You've got to be very careful with your air temp sensor. You don't wreck that when you take it off, because you know these are plastic and they can get brittle over time and they can break easy. Here, that's your brake master cylinder. That's min and max. You put top 4 brake fluid in that only, And you should always check that when you're checking the oil too, just in case you've got a wheel cylinder leak or your brake caliper's leaking or anything like that, because if that leaks out you won't have no brakes and you won't be able to stop. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on this. And this is your clutch master cylinder here, this little one, because this is a manual. I'll just open this up and show you inside it. That's the clutch master cylinder, that fluid's full. And that's your alternator. This is your fan belt. You should always keep an eye on your fan belt and make sure they call them, it's a main drive belt really, it's not really a fan belt, it's a main drive belt they call it. And you should always check for cracks and splits and stuff in that. And I'll take you around to the back and I'll show you how to check your diff oil. So I'm laying under the back of the vehicle here, and this is how you check your diff oil. Now this has got a plug in it, this diff. Some of them have got bolts, some of them even got a socket, a half-inch socket drive where you just put the ratchet in it. It's off to drain them. Like this, it's got a drain plug under the bottom here. You undo that if you want to drain it, but some of them don't have that and you have to take the actual cover off them themselves to drain them. And this is how you check it. You just pull the bung out. You can see that little bit of oil here coming out. That just lets you know that it's full. You don't have to pop your finger in that because it's already good. You always want to make sure you clean up around it too. And I'll take you around and I'll show you how you check the transmission or your gearbox oil. That drain plug right there next to the stick, you can see, if you just undo that, make sure your finger's clean and just put your finger in there, your fingertip, and if it's up to that level, like you put your finger in and you can feel the oil when you pull your finger out the tip of it, that's good. You won't have to add any oil to it. In the thing is with transmissions, you don't have to check the oil very regularly. Like the only time you want to be worried about the oil if you're going full driving and stuff and the whole vehicle's 3/4 underwater and it sucks in water, and you'll get a lot of it'll make the transmission and the diff oil milky, and you want to keep an eye on that if you're off-road, because that will destroy your gearbox and will destroy your differential too. So if you're off-road, make sure you change oil regularly. This is some of the things you'll need if you ever work on your own vehicle, is high temperature wheel bearing grease. So if you ever do wheel bearings and that, you've got to make sure you use a high temperature bearing grease. If you use standard grease, the wheel bearings get hot and they'll end up cooking and the grease will just run out and melt. That's why they make high temperature wheel bearing grease. Your next one is coolant. This is a 8-year coolant, 500,000 kilometre, but I'd be changing your coolant every 4 years, even though it says 8 years, just to make sure you got good coolant. And you always make sure too that when people buy coolant, they don't use they buy cheap coolant and it's not suitable for aluminium cylinder heads and that. So you just make sure that when you buy coolant, it's suitable for aluminium. Not all coolant they make suitable for aluminium, they can cause a lot of corrosion, so just keep an eye on that. This oil here is for power steering, and that's only the use you use this oil for, power steering. It doesn't matter what brand it is, as long as it's power steering fluid. This is your brake fluid, .4, always use this. You got your engine oil here, this is your motor oil, and this is your gearbox oil and differential. So there's you can get multiple different types of gearbox oil. This oil here is for limited slip diffs and manual gearbox, so you can put this in your diffs and gearboxes. You just got to be careful of oils that if you got a limited slip diff and you try and put standard oil in the limited slip diff, like this oil is not for limited slip diff, this oil is for both limited slip diff and normal diff, and also gearboxes. So you got to make sure that you have a limited slip diff, use the right oil. So you can put limited slip diff oil in the standard diff, that's alright, but you can't put standard oil in a limited slip diff, otherwise it'll wreck the clutch plates in it, and that will be very expensive because they've got different ingredients in the oil for that job. And I'll take you back to the owner's manual and explain some more things. So I'm back at the owner's manual, and I've showed you a bit about the vehicle and what sort of things you've got to check. The thing is, if you don't know a real lot about mechanical, just get your owner's manual out and have a read up about it, and find out where your fuse boxes are and where everything is on your vehicle, because if you ever break down a roadside emergency, and you won't know what to do, so if you're on your own, you're really stuck, you can always familiarise yourself with the owner's manual, and you'll find out where your spare tyre is, where your tools are to undo your lug nuts, and if you blow fuse, where your fuse box are located, and any other troubleshooting things. You could find that in your owner's manual, and you might be able to get back on the road nice and quick. Like, it could be just a simple fuse, or if you get a flat tyre, it will show you where the jacking point is on your vehicle. It's very important to make sure that you jack on the specific manufacturer's jacking point. Otherwise, if you use a scissor jack, what most cars come standard with, if you try and jack that up on the underbody, you don't have it in the right spot, you end up crushing and do a lot of damage. And yeah, just in general. And I hope this helps a lot of people.